February was also a dream.
All
Just-
right, let's get started. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Digital Marketing for Women-Owned Businesses 2026. Whoops, I'll be right back. I need to do some. Okay, Digital Marketing for Women-Owned Business 2026 by Miss Patty Ross from Golden State Marketing. Today is our very first session, and we'll explore Marketing Plan 101 and build your roadmap to success. My name is Jeannie Yang. I'm a business and loan counselor at Pace. Thank you for joining us today. This webinar will be recorded, and at the end of the webinar, you'll be asked to participate on our survey. So please make sure that you complete the survey, as it's going to help us to plan our future webinars. And before we explore today's main topic, let me do a quick introduction and Pace. Okay. Great. Pacific Asian Consortium in Employment was established in 1976, and we are a nonprofit organization. We are a community development organization, and from business and workforce development to utility bill assistance, housing, and education, our 5 departments are equipped with necessary services to tackle poverty and economic inequity in diverse community in LA since 1976. So we offer one-on-one business counseling, credit asset building, business and financial plan development, webinars just like today's, and training to help you establish a brand new business or help your existing business. We can also guide you to get into the procurement contract if you're interested. PACE is a certified community development financial institution, CDFI, and we are also part of City of LA Business Source Center, Women's Business Center, and SBA Prime Lender. And the greatest fact is all our services are free, no charge. So if you have any questions about our services, program, or the lending products, please visit our website, pacelabdc.org for more information. All right, let me introduce our guest speaker today, Ms. Patty Ross from Golden State Marketing.
Thank
Patty,
you.
yes,
All right.
I'll be
All
quick.
right. Okay.
Patty has well over 20 years experience in marketing and has been an online presence since 1998, where she has developed an e-commerce program for gourmet gift company into $1 million business. And she has spent 17 years helping the wine industry gain traction online and has since branched out to help other businesses grow their brands, including financial company, legal, health, beauty, motorsports, landscape design, restaurants, CBD, political activism, and even nonprofits. It's our pleasure to have you with us, Patty. Let's get started.
All right. Thank you very much. Welcome, everyone. It looks like the chat is working. And yeah, it looks like I have a
Good,
couple
looking
people
good.
share where they're coming in. Yeah, if you want to share in the chat where you're dialing in from. So as I get my slides going here. Okay, let's share. And there we go. Okay, just making sure that's up. And there we go.
Looking good.
I've done this before. Here we go. Okay. Getting the right sequence. Okay, and there's a
Yes.
weird little button. Everything's good. Seeing it? Marketing Plan 101. All good.
Perfect.
All right, perfect. So yes, welcome to Marketing Plan 101. So you already introduced me, but yeah, so I do actually now I have to update their bio on me. It is actually now actually year 22. So my slide is even still circa 2025. But I do work with, as you mentioned, all types of businesses, business to business, business to consumer. And I teach all over the place, somewhere around the country virtually with chambers and trade groups and PACE and I do serve here in Los Angeles on a couple of boards. So I always recommend if you have time, it helps you and the business community if you do, serve your business community, serve on chamber boards or committees, ambassadors, whatever would work for you. And again, definitely helps your business community and will help your business as well. So a little bit that I know it's a little bit about me already. So this is a good stat here. So did you know that 50% of small businesses do not have a documented marketing plan? I don't know if that's anybody in the room, but that might be why you're here today, of course. And you are 30% more likely to experience growth than those without. So you're smart to be here if you don't already have one. I know Pace and their advisors can help with a business plan if you don't have an overall business plan. Sometimes business plans actually include some marketing as well, or just to work on your marketing plan. So hopefully this will give you good, start to do it. You will get from Pace after the class a recording, the slides. I'll also give you my marketing plan worksheet. So if you want to fill them out and go along with the class today, you don't have to do it while you're in the middle of the class. You'll get it after. And then also give you my content calendar, which I'll talk about as part of the marketing plan. So watch for that in your email sometime after the class when we get all that together for you. So why it's important to have a plan, all right? So this came up on my LinkedIn feed, I think last year from CB Insights, and it was on the left, the side, why top reasons startups fail, right? And a lot of these are, it could be startup or even already in your early stages, growth phase, whatever. And I said, well, looking at these, a lot of them are tied into marketing, not all of them, but a lot of them are tied into marketing. So I said, let me write it out how they are tied into marketing, right? So the first one, ran out of cash, failed to raise new capital. That could be overall, like you didn't have a business plan in place, you didn't know how to spend the cash, where you're going to spend it, right? And as part of your marketing as well, making sure you had a plan with your cash. So that definitely is tied into some marketing there. No market need, that is definitely marketing. Did you do any market research? Was it just like, I think this is a cool idea, or I use this product, but is there a market need for it out there? Maybe, maybe not. So doing that research ahead of time is definitely very important. Getting out competed, definitely part of the doing competitor research. We're going to talk about that today as part of your marketing plan. Not saying that because other people have the same product or service that you shouldn't. You just have to make sure you understand who those competitors are and how you can compete against them, if it makes sense or not. Sometimes it might not, right? Might be too competitive of a landscape for you. And then a flawed business model, again, that's overall. Did you have a business plan in place? Very important, and including marketing. Regulatory legal challenges could be, right? That's making sure that you're aware. Of course, if you have any now, there's new laws that come out every year. Things change. Some of you may be under more regulatory compliance than some of us are, right? Whether it's for employment, labor laws or whatever, environmental laws or whatever it is that may affect our business here, federally, locally, state, whatever. So definitely being aware of that. And if you have to like use your marketing to work with those regulatory and legal challenges, that's important. Pricing and cost issues. Pricing is one of the four main P's of marketing, right? Product, price, place, promotion. So definitely part of your overall strategy. Not the right team. We could talk about not having the right marketing team or overall, your right team in your business. That's important. Product mistimed, right? So definitely some market research. Are you launching at the right time of the year? You're launching a Christmas product in January, might not be a good time to launch it. Things happen in the world, and it might be like, say if they're releasing a movie at the wrong time, like after a disaster happened and it's a disaster movie. It's kind of like that in a way. Not always release movies, but making sure that you're paying attention to what's going on around you before you launch a product. Poor product. This is one that marketing cannot overcome, right? If you have a bad product or service that we initially market, but it turns out it's a bad product or service, no marketing is going to overcome that. You got to fix the product or the service first. And then disharmony among team and investors. Definitely, I've worked in companies where it's not necessarily marketing decisions, but business decisions overall that were affecting the marketing, affecting like what software company, a good example for the wine industry, and the tech team, IT team that was punching and doing all the program were making decisions instead of the business team making it based on what the customers really wanted, right? So making that definitely caused some disharmony. There's a lot of punching back and forth on what we wanted them to be releasing first. So making sure that you understand your business needs versus what the IT was, and is it a marketing thing that has to come into play? And then pivot gone bad, right? Our favorite P word from the COVID era. But seems like we're always pivoting against something these days, right? Feel like a pinball machine, right? So making sure if there's something going on out there, like here in Los Angeles and Southern California area, last year we had fires, beginning of the year. And then we had ice coming into town. And then we had tariffs we're dealing with that's always bouncing back and forth. So I had clients and all affected by all of these different things, the economy, weather, right? Back east, you had major snowstorms. I can't relate to that here in sunny Southern California, but that closed, it can affect all of our businesses, things not getting delivered on time that we need. So definitely figuring out how to pivot. A lot. Yesterday with Pace, I was taught this class for um, a Zoom room full of business owners who lost their homes and their businesses in the Eaton fire last year. And they had a lot of pivoting they had to do. And it's something that they couldn't have planned for. But now they're going to have a plan, for everything, every natural disaster out there. So very important, to have a marketing and business plan around anything that can happen. So burned out, lack of passion, definitely, overall your business, that's not good if you're tired of your business or it's overwhelming you. So making sure having the right people, the right processes in place, you won't get burned out hopefully as fast, right? It's hard to be an entrepreneur, right? It's a lot of ups and downs and roller coaster ride, but just making sure that you have the right team and you take care of yourself as well. Very important. So, right, we don't want to make any of these mistakes by not having a marketing plan in place, right? And that's why you're all here. So the world of marketing and advertising, right? Where do you go to spend your time and money, right? So all of these planets here, right, are not all of them are for all of us, right? We all, probably all just looking at kind of the traditional side of media, right? TV, radio, billboards, print ads, public relations, that might not be for us to do a TV commercial, right? Doing networking, and then the digital side of things. Most of us are digital in some way, shape, or form these days. We probably all have websites, hopefully. We maybe have done some internet advertising. We're out there on social media doing some email marketing, search engine optimization, now generative engine optimization with AI, text and Wi-Fi marketing, social media influencers, affiliate marketing. It's like, where do you go? Lions, tigers, and bears, oh my, right? So not all of them are appropriate. You have to know who your customers are. We're going to talk about that. Your customers are not everywhere. Your budget is not going to be everywhere, right? So really understanding that's, I'm sure, why you're here as well, is to understand where you should be, where you should, and how to go figure out where you should be. But having that plan in place, because this is an expensive world and time and money. So you want to make sure you're in the right place, right? So, and consistent. So why does marketing feel hard? So everybody think marketing, raise your hand if you think marketing feels hard. It's okay. If you can, it's no judgment, right? Got a few hand raises. Marketing sometimes is hard for me. I love marketing, but it's a lot, you have to be consistent all the time. You have to be on point all the time, on your game all the time, right? But why does it feel more overwhelming, right? Too many options. That's going to lead to scattered effort, unclear audience. Maybe you have too generic of messaging because you think I can help everybody, but then how do I market to everybody, right? How do I message to them? Not having a plan, as we're talking about, definitely what can lead to inconsistent action. And then you're not tracking, you're not looking under the hood to see what's working or not. So then you're just repeating the same old mistakes. But you have to be careful with that because you have to give it time sometimes. You can't just like, I'm going to post up and suddenly everything's going to happen. If it doesn't, I'm just giving up. I've heard that many of times. So definitely making sure that you have this plan in place. So it doesn't feel as hard, right? It still could be a lot of work, but with processes and procedures and planning, sorry about that, it shouldn't be that hard, right? Hopefully not make it hard for you. So the 6 decisions every marketing plan must answer, right? Who are you trying to reach, right? Who's your buyer? What do they need and want? Okay. What is the problem and what kind of outcome are they expecting from it? How do they want to be solved? Why you versus their alternatives, your competitors. So this is positioning you, your unique selling proposition and proof like, hey, I'm better than them. What this is because look at this, right? What should we say? How do you message to them, especially at the buyer stage, right? We need to get them on the hook, put some bait on the hook, reel out the hook, throw the line. I'm not a fisher. I don't even like seafood. Um, right, get it out there and sitting out there, anticipation, waiting for somebody to jump on the bait and nibble on it, and you can reel them in, right? So how do you get, you have to have the right bait, right? Not all fish and seafood things out there take the same bait, I think, right? Where will you show up once you know who those buyers are and where they hang out? Which channels, meaning social media, email, billboards, radio, all those are channels, right? The planets that you saw on the last slide. And the cadence, how often you're going to be on those channels, right? And then how you know it's working, right? Looking under the hood, looking at the metrics. So pretty easy. I'm hoping to boil this marketing plan down to you into these steps, right? Hopefully at the end of this as well, you'll have these 6 things. I'm not to say figured out, but you'll be working on these 6 things here for your marketing plan. So, and just to start with one goal, right? We don't want to keep making it hard, right? So figure out what is that one primary goal that you have out there. We probably all want to increase our leads, book some calls, have people walking in the door, right? Some foot traffic. I want my online orders to increase. We want to improve repeat business. Maybe it's like, yeah, my customers buy once in a while, but they're not really coming back, and you have a repeat business. What do you need to do? Can you get reviews from them? Keep them coming back, right? Build an email list for consistent sales. So think of that one thing. What is that one big challenge that you're having right now? Right. You just say, I just need to make more money. Well, how do you want to do that? Right. Would more foot traffic, would online orders, book calls, etc. See, okay. And then everyone is not your customer. As I said earlier, a lot of us say everybody, right? That means you're fishing in the ocean. You're trying to throw that fishing rod out there, and we'll just try to catch anything. It might not be the right bait for whatever fish you're trying to catch, but something will come along. Maybe it will be like a guppy, right? Or a little tiny minnow or something. Maybe that's good for you. We just catch a lot of them, right? But we definitely trying to market to everyone, not trying to fish in the pond, like smaller little market. Could lead to weak messaging. Again, you're trying to appeal to everybody. Definitely higher marketing costs because you're going to be spending more time spinning your wheels trying to appeal to everybody. And probably lower conversion because you're not speaking to anybody, right? So it's just they're not converting, they're not buying, they're not doing the thing you want them to do. So definitely focus is going to win. Pick your best fit customer first and then expand later. Some of you might have multiple people anyways, multiple buyers. Anybody in the room this is an example, work in the senior market, right? So your primary customers for your product or services in the senior market, say 60, 65 plus. Not somebody who's like, oh, I sell baked goods and old people like them too. Does anybody here work with anything 65 plus? So let's just say as an example, maybe you sell Medicare or you're a home care agency or a product that seniors tend to use. Maybe, I don't know, special reading glasses or a hearing aid. So in this example, doesn't seem like we have any in the room doing that, but give you that example. Their primary audience is 65 plus and they have to market to them in a certain way. They're not going to be primarily on social media like the younger folks are. Maybe you have to reach out to them via email. If you want to reach my 84-year-old father, sorry, 85-year-old father, you would have you would have put an ad in the LA Times to reach him. He physically reads the newspaper, but I take care of everything for him. He can go read the newspaper for the news, but if you're going to be selling, Medicare or let's say he already has that for 20 years, but if you're selling any products or services that he would need, you need to come to me. And reaching me is going to be in a different place. The messaging to me is going to be different, right? So he might be selling some of those things to me soon enough. I'm not, far behind him. So again, and on the other end of it, if you cater to children, young kids, and your product or services for them, you might be actually messaging to their parents. Some cases, some of the depends on the product or service for the kids. They might want like tell mom and dad they want that product or service, and then go to the wallet to buy it, as opposed to the parents being the primary, like tutoring or something. The kids probably wouldn't be raising their hand to mom and dad, hey, get me tutoring. But maybe the latest toy or game, right? So definitely understanding this is the most important part of your marketing plan is the buyers, no understanding who they are, right? So building buyer personas, right? I don't know if anybody here ever built buyer personas? So figuring out like you should have a clear focus and understanding of who it is that wanted your product or service. Okay, so we have one, Hot, Nadia, and Heather, right? So building those personas, very important to help you target your product or service. So the persona is going to include who your best customer is, what do they want, as I already mentioned before, what their number one problem, their pain points are. What might their top objections be? Why are they hesitating? What would make them hesitate? Their trust, right? Proof that they need. And then where and how you can reach them, where they look for information. I'll show you some examples of that, right? So here are the top 5 questions that matter. If you only answer 5 questions, answer these, right? What problem are they trying to solve, right? What outcome do they want most? What stops them from taking action? What questions they ask before buying? And where do they go to research and decide, right? So I'll give you a couple. So here's one. So this is for business to consumer, right? And this would be appealing, for it could be for restaurants, retail, skincare, home services, etc. So and generally a buyer persona is going to be a person, of course. So not saying all of your customers are a busy working mom, Melissa. Maybe they are. Maybe you just appeal to working mothers out there, but this is an example. So she's 38, she's married, has 2 kids in school, middle to upper middle income. It's hard to say. She's a full-time professional as well as a mom. What are her goals? She needs to save time, reduce stress, make smart buying decisions for her family. What are her challenges and pain points? She's short on time. That's why she needs to save it. Overwhelmed by choices, wants convenience, reliability. What are her buying motivations? Products or services that make her life easier, save time, improve family life. You can see the pattern going on here. What matters most? Definitely, she has to trust, reviews, make it easy for her to purchase because she doesn't have time, right? Convenient and a good value for her money, right? So she has to make smart buying decisions. Where she looks, she's on Google, she's on Facebook, Instagram, she looks at online reviews, she talks to friends, right? What makes her buy it, what gets her to that, yes, I'm going to buy it, is clear benefits. It solves her pain points, right? She got social proof. She checked out, talked to people, looked at reviews, right? Easy, convenient, make steps, strong visuals, right? So those type of businesses that she'd be ideal for. And a simple takeaway, right, is this buyer does not want a complicated sales pitch. She wants to know, how does it help me? Can I trust you? And how easy it is to buy? And then even adding a fourth, how easy it is to get more of it, right? Do you make it an obstacle to get more of it, right? It's all about convenience for her, make it easy. So are you in the buying process? If this was you, if you had business to consumer, if this Melissa is an ideal client, what are you doing to relieve her stress? I always say we'll talk about that on the B2B side, because on B2B, business owners, you want to approach business. I'll show you that next. We'll talk about that. Right. Business owners, I don't care if it's a solopreneur up to a CEO of a Fortune 500 company and everything in between, we want to know, how are you going to make us money, save us time. So you have to come at us and quantify those, right? If you're not giving us any of those in your pitch for what you want to sell us, it's going to be a hard pitch, right? So here's an example, B2B, right? So here's David, business owner, and he is an owner of a small service-based business, 5 to 15 employees, right? He's established, but he wants to grow. His goals are to increase revenue, improve efficiency, attract better clients, reduce overwhelm, right? Everybody wants to reduce that. His pain points, he wears too many hats. He has limited time. He has an unclear marketing direction. He's cautious about spending. I need to call this guy. He sounds like an ideal client for me, right? I want to reduce his overwhelm because he's wearing too many hats and he doesn't have marketing direction, right? Right away, I'm like, woo, radar goes up, right? So it's buying motivation, solutions that save time. As I just said, save time, improve results, reduce costs. I'm like right there, save time, make money, save money, right? And all that is going to help him hopefully grow, right? So right there is that solution in that buying motivation. And how are you going to show him that, right? So what matters most is ROI, is return on investment, the expertise, credibility, efficiency, a clear process, right? Where he looks for information, now he's going to be on Google, LinkedIn, definitely B2B. He's going to maybe go to webinars like you're attending now. You're looking for help. I'm assuming most of you are looking for help with your business. That's why you're here. Maybe some referrals or local networking industry. We're going to ask people that we know, just like the mother was asking her friends, right, for tips. Again, for example targets for him: marketing consultants, accountants, business coaches. So we would all need to know this stuff about him, right? So this buyer is usually asking, will it help my business grow? Is it worth the investment? Can I trust them? Right? Make it easier, faster, more profitable. Again. And I always say with the mother example and business example, I had my one first and only wine industry boss. He always told us, he goes, don't tell me about the labor pains, just show me the baby. Right? Bottom line it to me. I don't need to know. Some customers might want to know all of the labor pains, but that mother doesn't, right? She says, show me the baby. I don't have time. If they're talking about saving time, I don't have time to listen to labor pains. But if you're explaining all the labor pains, but you're never showing me the baby, right? The solution, the bottom line, it, how are you going to make me money, save me time, make me money, right? So those, you have to think about those for really both, right? The mother wanted to save time, right? She wanted to, be efficient with her money with for her family, right? So even though you're charging them, you need to show them how you're going to save them money or make them money, right? And then just comparing B2B to B2C, right? How that works as far as your target audience. But B2B is all about building relationships, right? Because again, we're going to be they're going to be spending more money, right? So they want to know, again, they want to trust you. So you have to share your expertise, right? You tend generally are focusing on a more niche market, right? So professionals and I'm marketing and I work with B2B, I can niche it down a little further and say, well, I only do marketing for IT companies or dentists or whatever, but just generally you're like, maybe I only work with HR directors. Tends to be a longer selling cycle because, it's a bigger decision to make to build that relationship, know, like, and trust. Watch those webinars and read their marketing materials, find that social proof, right? Generally will involve more bigger selling cycle because it involves more people. You might be dealing with the HR directors, but to get right off on spending, they might have to go up to the C-suite to do that, right? So your main goal is to build trust and credibility with your content, right? Your subject matter expertise. We're on the B2C side of things. It's about building brand awareness, focusing on triggering those quick emotions, impulse purchase, generally a larger scale, not everybody, but it's like women between 15 to 35, and so it's more niche than that. Shorter selling cycle because it's like we're making a purchase quick. It might involve members of the family, but generally individual. I see a cute pair of shoes on Facebook, I'm going to buy them. I don't need to know the CEO. I don't need to build relationships with anybody. I just want the shoes and we're going to buy them, we're done, right? I don't have to ask anybody's permission, right? So your main goal is creating that impulse and urge to buy with your branding and messaging. So totally different. If you're both, you have to figure that out, right? Well, one side you have to build relationships, the other you have to create the impulse, right, to get that purchase. Right. And then, of course, the next step, brand visual and visuals and voice, right? Branding builds trust through consistency, right? So, minimum viable brand clarity is a clear logo, consistent colors and fonts, and consistent use of your logo, right? So, building that brand identity, consistent photo style. So, some brands definitely have its own look and feel to it, so just being clear, might not be as obvious to some, but some brands definitely have that same look and feel. A recognizable tone of voice, how you speak to your customers, does it appeal to them, right? So you definitely want to be recognizable, not necessarily perfect, but definitely very consistent. So to give you an example, right, if you see on my Zoom background, which is my fake Zoom office, my logo, right, my Golden State Marketing Bear. So I always, wherever I go, so everybody's in Los Angeles and you meet me at a business event, you're always going to see me with my white big badge on my shoulder that has my big bear on it. Right. So this literally just happened a couple of weeks ago. I was asked to speak at a somewhat local, the University of UC Santa Barbara. And I was wearing my badge as one of the keynote speakers. And we're, milling about before the event started, this conference. And one of the other speakers came up to me, and it turns out his brand also has the Golden State Bear or California Bear, a little different design, but we both had similar. So we're just talking about it. And I said, yeah, I get all the time, if I'm wearing my badge, and I always am, somebody will come up to me inevitably and say, oh, hey, I get your emails, because my logo is on my emails at the top and they recognize a bear. Luckily, nobody so far has said, stop sending me those too many emails, right? But so far, pretty much every single meeting I've gone to or event, and they see my bear, somebody has come up and said, I get your emails. So I was talking to the other keynote speaker, and I just finished talking about that. He walked away and moved on, and these two ladies walk up to me, and we start talking. And one lady starts like really zeroing in with her eyes on my badge. She goes, oh, I get your emails. So I go to Jose, who was still next to me. I go, look, it just happened. Literally just happened what I told you, that the brand, wear the bear, wear your logo. So that, if somebody's going to hand me, sorry, Pace, if you handed me a Pace badge, I'm going to still wear mine, right? Because that's my branding and I want people to recognize it. And it's consistency. Whether you see me on Zoom with my logo in the corner, or you see me with my badge on, you get my email, there's consistency with that. So make sure it's something, it's the Golden State Bear. It's not some fancy logo, whatever, but it's recognizable, but it's consistent. It could be a cat or whatever, a basketball or something, but I'm consistent with it across the board. So people recognize me and see the bear and go, oh yeah, I see your emails or I see you on LinkedIn. So definitely helps to be very focused. Okay. And then why do you need a brand story, right? Definitely sets you apart, right? We're not Procter and Gamble and Starbucks and big brands out there, right? That people just like they know the brand. They don't, like I said, I don't need to know who the CEO is of a company and build relationships with them if I'm buying a consumer-based product, right? But people with small businesses, again, going back to know, like, and trust, they want to know our story. Why do you do what you do? Why are you all, whatever your businesses are, why are you doing it? They care, they get to know your story, they care more about you and able to connect with you, right? It's kind of like a dating relationship in a way. You don't have to get to the altar, but the altar is the conversion, right? So you'd want to build that relationship. They want to see you, don't hide from them. Tell your story. You are your story. Don't just say, well, here's our products. But I go to a lot of websites and I go to the about section. I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to see who they are, what they do. No, don't. Just they tell their story of when they started, but don't see any pictures, right? Don't be shy. We definitely want to build those relationships with each other. So it's important to craft a brand story, right? And definitely important to be very consistent across all platforms. Everything you do crafts your story. Every touch point that you have out there touches your story, tells your story. So being consistent across all of your platforms. Again, your social media should align with your website, your email marketing, your brick and mortar, right? Your signage, your delivery vans, your uniforms, whatever you have. Not everybody has all of those things, but if anything is different, people are confused. Confused buyers don't buy. They sit there and scratch their head and then move on to something else if they're confused, right? So making sure everything is consistent. If you've changed logos or colors, if you haven't updated your social media and like, is this still real? Are they still in business? What's going on? So you don't want to have any confusion. I don't have anything but the bear, right? So I'm very consistent with that logo. My business cards, everything has the bear on it, right? So I make sure I stamp it everywhere, right? It's very consistent look. So, and then personal branding or even business branding, right? Making sure you have the right photos, like video content, right? It's easier to show you photos here, but here I'll just give you some examples of some before and afters, right? Of how you can definitely appeal to your right audience with the right images. So this is Janet. I know her personally, and I know the photographer Gina personally. They are on the Central Coast. And I was in a women's networking group with them. And Janet, lovely lady, she's a life coach and, she had a perfectly serviceable headshot for her business, right? I always would joke with her. I'm like, is this your were you a bank teller in a previous life? Was this your employee of the month photo? I had one of those. I can't joke. I worked for a credit union. I had one of those, literally had an employee of the month. I wasn't a teller. I was in the marketing department, but I had that as my first picture. I'm like, oh, it's nice. I'm smiling. The photographer took time to take a nice picture for the employee of the month newsletter. But not lovely picture, but is it really speaking to the right audience, telling the right story about who she is, right? As a life coach. So Gina, great, brilliant brand photographer, zhuzhed her up. And this is Janet after. So I think she looks younger, right? She looks better. She's still a lovely lady, but she wanted to appeal to who wants to hire her for a life coach, right? So we want to show her as warm and friendly, right? Open, accessible, compassionate, and heartfelt. So now I can imagine sitting across from Janet. She's smiling at me and sitting there telling her my life problems. The other picture, I'm like, Janet, can I have some 20s for my 100? Right? It was telling a totally different story than this. Now I can, she's bringing me in, like, come here. She's like, putting her arms out, come here. Tell me what's going on. What's wrong, Patty? Right. So I would definitely be more appealing, right? Everybody think so? Yes. And then a business. So Gina, this is still Gina, the photographer. I started working for Red Souls. They hired me. This was back in 2017, I think it was. And when I first met them, they were just about to celebrate their 10th anniversary, and they needed a photographer. So I recommend Gina to come photograph their 10th anniversary party. But then when they hired me to do the marketing at the same time, I'm like, you don't have any images or pictures of anything, right? They had an old picture of some wine barrels and really old pictures of the owners, didn't even look like them anymore. And that was it. Didn't even have a photo of the front of the tasting room here. So we brought Gina in to do photos that I could use for marketing. So telling their story, right? Share the details. Of course, the typical, let's show you the grapes and the vineyards and the wine and all of that stuff. All right, gonna have that. And then having great product shots that we can use on the website and for their marketing advertising, right? And then the benefits of coming here. What's going to happen? How are you going to feel when you come here? Of course, you're going to drink some great grape juice, right? But maybe there's some music, there's food, there's fun, people having a good time. You don't want to go to a tasting. You're not going there for a medical exam, right? You're going there for a good time, right? So hopefully you're conveying that with your pictures. Come here, come to us, right? A lot of competitors in their area to go to. The tuxedo crooner there was at their 10th anniversary party. But here we are out there with our friends and family having a great time, right? And then, again, showing more the anniversary party there at the bottom, right? Everybody having a good time. And then the people, sharing the people behind the wine, right? The owner, Cheryl and Randy, Tiffany, the tasting manager, they had in this is in the Central Coast of California, that little section. I think we have almost 5,000 wineries in California. And in this little part of California is about 200 plus wineries. And right down the road, up the hill, like all crammed in a short distance from each other, right? I don't think there's any other business where you have that many direct competitors in your backyard, literally in your backyard, right? So why do they come to them, right? It's all grape juice. You might like better than others, right? But they all have the same product pretty much, but it's the people that draw them in. They built relationships with Randy and Cheryl and Tiffany and everybody else at the winery over the 10, 15 plus years. They unfortunately in 2023 decided to retire and sell the winery. So I'm no longer working with them, but they had a good run. But that was, building relationships with them. That was very important. So definitely want to show that. You don't have to show pictures of everything going on in your life, but they want to see who you are. What's the story behind it? Just like any other winery out there telling their story, building a relationship with them to get them to go to them instead of the 200 and other wineries that are in the area. And then once you have, and of course, video content, photo content, once you have good branding photography, you can use it to make marketing materials, right? And use social media, your email, your flyers, etc. So very important to have good shots. And now with AI, there's a lot of things you can do with AI that you don't even need to have. Unfortunately, I'm not for photographers. I love Gina. I still use her, but I also can create AI headshots as well, right? Or some AI photography. It's definitely evolving, changing how we do things. So take advantage of any tools that you have, right? And then just a little question, a quiz here for you. What do these brands convey to the world? There's one thing I want, one word I'm looking for that they have in common, right? They don't have in common what they sell, right? They're all over the world, right? Or you can go to a Starbucks down the street here in Los Angeles, or I can find one in New York or Indiana or Paris, France, right? They're all over the world. Just like Apple, I have a local Apple store here, a bunch of them, or I can go to an Apple store in Hong Kong or Indiana, wherever, right? There's a ton of them, and there are going to be slight differences, right? They're going to architecturally look different. Their staff might have different colored polo shirts at Apple store. Starbucks might have a couple different regional drinks that are different, but what's the one thing that they have in common? Put in the chat. I'm looking for a C word. What is the one thing that they have in common? Anybody want to share? Should be an easy one. We already talked about this C word before. Right? What is that one word? Consistency. Yay, exactly. Thank you, Heather and Jessica. Right? So no matter where you go in the world for to an Apple or a Starbucks, if you like those products, and if you don't, that's okay too. But whenever I go, I know when I walk in that door of an Apple store, I'm going to have the same experience across the board. Doesn't like it's going to look different. I went to the allegedly largest one in Los Angeles this weekend at the called the Grove. It's like their ceilings are really tall. Then they put mirrors on the ceiling, so it made it look twice as tall. I was like, oh my God, I think they can fly an airplane on the top of there. But same experience. Walk up to the staff, they come up to you, I can ask some questions, all, similar experience. Same with the Starbucks, right? So we are not multi-billion dollar brands, but we can learn from them and be consistent with that, of course. And then getting to the hand raise. So what I mean by that is how do you tell your story to get people to raise their hand and say, "Yes, I want to do business with you." Right? As opposed to doing the head scratch, like, I don't how what do you do? I don't know. Do you have something I need? So this came from the hand raise came from a conversation I had on the phone. I had a business coach back. This was 2019, just before COVID. And our business coach encouraged her different clients to schedule calls with each other to network and get to know each other, practice our pitch, our hand raise message. So she had me sign up to talk to one of her other clients, and I didn't know who she was, and this was on a phone call. This was like pre getting everybody getting on Zoom, so we couldn't see each other. I didn't know what she did ahead of the call, right? So I didn't have any preconceived ideas or like, oh, I researched her and I definitely want her service. So she proceeded to tell me her pitch, right? And I'm going to share mine with you late in a minute. But she told me, and as soon as she told me her story, and I told her, I go, my hand just shot right up in the air. I'm like, yes, 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 sign me up. I want what you're selling. I am your client, right? And she does time management coaching. And the only reason I didn't sign up with her because it was a week before COVID shut us all down, and like time didn't matter at that point. Didn't have any time to manage any time. There was plenty of time to do stuff. But I just remember that it's like I didn't even have to think about it. I was like, my hand shot in the air. So can we do that with how we talk to our customers? Okay. So I'm going to give you two examples. I want you to listen to both A and B. And then I want you in the chat to go which one, if one of them raised your hand, right? A or B, and tell me why it was A or B. Okay. So kind of give you an idea how to craft your hand raise message. Okay, so here's A. So wait to vote until after you hear both. So let's just say I'm in the room and I'm standing up and introducing myself to everybody. So I'm saying, hi, I'm Patty with Golden State Marketing, and I work with business owners and I help them with marketing, including social media management, email marketing, blogging, SEO, public relations, promotional products, and advertising. Okay, that's A. And then here's my next pitch. So I'm Patty with Golden State Marketing, and I'm hired by busy business owners who wear so many hats, their marketing gets put on the back burner, and all they really want is strategic focused marketing that actually grows their business. So there's A or B. So put A in the chat or B in the chat and why A or B raises your hand. Okay. So B, Heather says, hits the pain points with emotion. Yes, B. Okay, Kelly. So anybody else? And why? Why did B appeal to you? Everybody, nobody else got a hand raise, or we're just all being shy. There we go. B, right? You will solve my problem. Exactly. Right. So break it down. I'm talking the first one, I'm just giving you the solutions, right? I'm just saying, yeah, I did say, I work with business owners. So Lisa, okay, you can go, oh yeah, okay, I'm a business owner. And then you're like, I know I need marketing. And she gave me this laundry list of social media, email, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, okay, cool. Like some of those, I don't know which ones I need, right? You're giving you all the labor pains, right? And I'm giving the baby. I didn't give you the solution. So let's break down B. Go back to that one. So I'm hired by busy business owners who I help, what are their pain points? They wear so many hats. Their marketing gets put on the back burner, right? The solution, strategic focused marketing, the outcome that actually grows their business. right? So I broke that down. That's your marketing plan right there, right? So if you can say that now, I had an experience with somebody a little bit shorter, but I was going to steal his pitch, well, his quick pitch, his introduction. So this was actually at a PACE event. This was October of 24. They invited me to speak on a panel to the Little Tokyo Business Association. And afterwards, they had a little reception and everybody's mixing and mingling. Of course, everybody knew who I was because I was one of the speakers. So they didn't have to ask me what I did. Hopefully, it was obvious in the marketing panel. But this gal walks up to me and I ask her, what does she do? And she says, oh, I do tech. And I'm like, okay, like, I'm gonna have to ask her more questions. What does that mean? So I'm standing there talking to her. A gentleman walks up. Turns out it's her coworker, but I didn't know when he walked up. And he introduces himself and I said, what do you do? And he goes, oh, I get paid to give you back more of your time. And I immediately like snatched my business card out of my pocket and I'm like, here, practically pasted it on his forehead, right? And we exchanged digital, cards and had the physical cards. And I'm like, he kind of started explaining it's kind of like a software thing and or an app or something. And I'm like, great, here's my information. Hopefully he'll follow up and tell me how he's going to give me back more of my time and how I'm going to have to give him money to do that. Right. And I could say the same thing. I get paid to give people back more of their time by taking their marketing off their hands. But this third guy walks up as I'm slapping my card in this guy's face and telling him to call me. He walks up and he's asking us, and he's asked the gal what she does, and she just continued with the I do tech thing, even though I kind of had an idea now what that was. And then she asked the guy, and he goes, "Oh, I do software." And I'm like, "No, no, no. Tell him what you told me. You don't just do software." He goes, "Oh, yeah, yeah. I get paid to give you back more of your time." I go, "That's your pitch right there." But guess what is October 2024 and it's almost March of 2026. I have still not heard from that guy. He had never followed up. Fortune is in the follow up, people. So make sure if I don't know how he would have lost my information. He had my digital card, my physical card. I almost would have tattooed it on his forearm. But again, make sure that you follow up on that. But again, simple pitch. He still had to explain what that solution was. He kind of gave me the outcome. I'm going to give you back more of your time, right? And it's the solution's going to be some software thing, right? Because I figured that out. But again, it works. It just doesn't give me, I don't need to know what it was. Like as long as he didn't cost me too much money and he wasn't going to hurt me, I'll be like, yes, just do it. He just gave me the baby. He didn't have to give me all the labor pains, right? And I'm a baby person. Just give me the bottom line, right? So can your pitch, how you talk about your business, get people with the hand raise or the head scratch? Right. So think about those steps. How do you talk about your business? And we'll talk a little bit about more of that with your unique selling proposition. So on a competitor, right? Analysis. So you're competing with direct competitors. Somebody has the same offer, same product or service. Indirect, different offer, but the same need. They're solving in a different way. And then maybe the do nothing option, right? They just are going to maybe DIY it. They're going to go online and figure it out, do it themselves rather than hire you. I have that all the time. A lot of you DIY your own marketing. And if that works for you, okay, right? Maybe they're going to delay or just avoid the problem, right? So that could be a competitor to you as well. Might be a harder one. You have to figure out how to get them off that, do I change them from DIY, explain why it's not a good idea to DIY it in your business? Maybe you should be working on something else, right? So your goal is to understand what others claim so your message is sharper. Go look at your competitors and see what they're doing. You can look at their websites, their social media, their marketing materials, their storefronts, if they have brick and mortar locations. Do they attend conferences and speak out in the community? Like, what are all the places? And do they do advertising? Like, oh, yeah, my competitor has billboards in town. What are you competing against so you know how to message against that and show that you're better than them, right? Right. Yes. I like that. Someone said, Anita said, because you describe the pain and the outcome, right? The baby. Not too much of the labor pains, all right. So look for a couple competitors. They might be local, might be, I have like a gazillion marketing competitors out there. I don't work just locally, so I don't say, I have a marketing company down the street. I may compete, but I have clients all over the country. So what is it? their promise, look for their promise of how we help you, right? What is their proof? Do they show reviews, credentials, results out there? Check all their, again, their social media, email, everything. What are their weaknesses and gaps? What can you see like, oh, I don't see that they do this, but we do, right? And that would be your edge. What do you do better or differently? And how are you going to message that to the potentially same customers, right? So, and then SWOT analysis. Anybody here, raise your hand or say yes in chat, have done SWOT analysis at least once in their businesses. Okay, we have Nadia, or Nadia, you're on top of it. You're always raising your hand. So strength, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. So this is usually part of a business plan, marketing plan. So if you've done a formal one, probably have done SWOT. I would say, and out of, let's see, Heather, Burton, Heather and Burton, it's like, yeah, the two of you are the same one. Anita and Bernice or Heather, have you done SWOT more than once for your business? Say if something changed or just an initial SWOT. So say just once. So is it maybe appropriate to check again? Has anything changed, right? So your strengths are all the strengths still all the same strengths, weaknesses, or have you maybe fixed any weaknesses, right? Are there new opportunities out there or maybe some new threats? It seems like every day there's a new threat going on, right? So it could be, I always say at least do start with one. If you haven't done one, at least to do one and then evaluate, maybe go back 6 months or a year and look at those and go, maybe you need to look at your weaknesses and fix that and go, oh, okay, I fixed that weakness. It's now a strength. Or we found this opportunity now and we made that into another strength, right? Right. And if you have, like Nadia said, if she has different targets and markets, those change. Like I said, a lot of things change. The economy shifts, the weather changes things. There's something globally that shifts or whatever. It's like we have to kind of adjust. You know, in a bigger picture, we might not have to, but definitely important. So SWOT, that's what it is. Let me give you some examples. So here's one for B2C. So this is a local skincare, boutique skincare studio. So here's some examples of what their strengths, their SWOT would be. So say maybe their strengths are personalized service, one-on-one client care, strong word of mouth and repeat customers, high quality results with specialized treatments, warm, welcoming brand experience. Got to live up to that if you're claiming that, right? Weakness, limited staff and appointment availability, small marketing budget. I understand that. Owner is the main face of the business, which limits scalability, right? Inconsistent social media and email marketing. So those are things you admit them. You got to own those. Put them down on paper. You got to do something about it, right? Like you got to make more money. Of course, I always hear, Patty, I'll hire you when I'm making more money. I'm like, well, you need marketing to make more money. So whether you do it first, get it done, right, and then hire me, but you do need to have marketing, right? Figure it out yourself until you can bring somebody else in. But again, if the business owner is already the main face and doing everything under the sun and wearing all the hats, it's going to definitely limit your scalability, right? Opportunities. Maybe there's growing consumer interest in self-care and wellness, right? Upselling skin products, perhaps, building recurring revenue through membership packages, things like that. Partnering with local wellness or beauty businesses. Threats could be competition from larger spas and chains, an economic downturn, which happens, right? People might not feel like it's a luxury to go and to get your skincare done, right? Rising product and operating costs, and we're experiencing that everywhere. Changes in social media algorithms, right? So writing them down is definitely very important to like own it and see it, right? So how the business could lean into this when, thinking about their maybe weaknesses, maybe it's like talk about personalized care, strong client relationships, maybe some niche expertise, instead of trying to compete on price, scale, frequency of discounting. Sometimes your messaging is so weak on that stuff on the left that you're like scrambling and go, okay, let me cut my prices. Maybe you look at your competitors like, they charge, $20 less. I had a client like that. She was a wellness service, wasn't skincare, and her prices were higher, right? For the same thing. And it wasn't something that, was a very comfortable thing that you do. Um, but it was still a higher price. And she had to justify that. Like, why does it, you're using the same type of equipment to do the same type of flush of your systems down there? It was basically kind of enema services. And like, why are you so special that you charge $20 more? And is it like because her service was better? Was she gentler with the service? Like what she really had to justify and not just say, well, I just charge you more because I'm charging more. Customers don't want to hear, well, my expenses are higher. It's like we all understand that, but we don't want to take over your expenses. So it has to be something that appeals to them, right? They're the hero of the story. Like, yes, I'm going to charge more, but so you don't have to say that. She can just say, yes, I have personalized care, right? I'm going to call and follow up with you. You're going to get a little extra goodie when you go out the door. We'll give you a cookie or whatever as you leave the door. So building on that, where she won't get that service somewhere else, so that's important. So here's a B2B example. So we have a small IT support managed services firm. Their strengths, they specialize expertise in personal support, fast response times compared to the larger providers, it might take longer, strong client relationships with high retention, ability to customize solutions for small business, very important. Their weaknesses, limited team capacity because they are small, smaller brand awareness compared to big national firms. They have to take more to get their brand out there. Few formal case studies and testimonials that happen sometimes, like you just don't have those yet. And their sales and marketing is inconsistent. So a lot going on weaknesses wise. Opportunities, rising need for cybersecurity and remote support. More small businesses outsourcing tech support, ability to niche down to specific industries. I work with cybersecurity IT companies that had very specific, they work with dentists or, accounting or healthcare. And then cross-selling additional services to current clients. Okay. Threats, larger firms, bigger budget, price competition, then from low-cost providers. Again, if they have competing on price, you got to do a lot of justification on why your prices are higher than the, say, bigger competitors. Some people are still just going to go by price, right? Rapidly changing technology requiring ongoing training, clients delaying spending, uncertain economic, that happens a lot. So to lean into responsiveness, expertise, customized support versus competing on the cheapest, the biggest, everything for everyone. So maybe they charge more because, like, hey, we just focus on those dental markets. We know your industry in and out. What are your problems that you have that are unique to the dental world, that might be different from other industries? So definitely, again, if you start competing on price, and thinking about that, right, your prices are going to drop rather than saying I'm competing on our expertise or customize and we are there for you 24/7, right? So hopefully that makes sense. So very important. Yes, glad you like the examples, Anita. Perfect. So do a SWOT analysis, really think, write them out. On the marketing plan worksheets, you're going to have a SWOT sheet there. You can just take a piece of paper and draw, 4 squares and think about these. Really think about what these are. And if there are weaknesses, what are you going to need to do to really turn the threats? We keep seeing sales and marketing being inconsistent, but I see people not being consistent with sales and marketing. They come to me and go, oh, my business is failing. I'm like, what's going on with marketing? Oh, yeah, I just haven't had time, or it didn't seem to work. Well, yeah, you haven't posted on social media since 2024. That might be a problem, right? Or you should really be on LinkedIn, but you're like, yeah, I don't really like LinkedIn. I haven't touched it for 20 years. It has been around 25 years. So that could be possible. So of course, I always go right straight to the marketing, but I'm also looking at other things. If you have a small team, no one's to do the marketing, you're going to have to figure that out in order to compete against those other brands and for people to see you and your expertise and how special and wonderful you are and sharing your story. So again, compete on those things that, or talk about those things that are not going to drive your prices down, because you're going to be, bargain basement pricing to compete against the big guys, right? Some people are not, some people are going to be looking for pricing, other people are going to be looking for that special experience, right? So your USP, your unique selling proposition, right? And why do they choose you? How do you, get them to date you, right? It's interesting if you ever go on dating sites, just like for fun, not if you're looking for dating. I always, when I had spent time on the dating sites, I'm always like, I felt like who is that? Cyrano de Bergerac, right? I'm like, oh gosh, these guys write such horrible profiles. Probably women do too, but I'm like, such horror. They don't sell themselves. They're so bad. I wanted to go to them. Let me do some marketing for you and rewrite your profile. I was too afraid to do that because I probably thought it would be weird to do it. But I'm like, there's so many. I just looked at them from a marketing standpoint. Like, God, you would hit the nail on the head if you had just marketed yourself more, rather than what you think they want to hear. So your unique selling proposition, right, should answer one question. Why should I choose you over the alternatives? right? So a good USP is going to be specific, credible, easy to understand, and relevant to the buyer's problems. Okay, I'm going to give you that examples of these as well, right? So the formula, we help the buyer, who's a buyer, get this result by this method, right? Still kind of repeating what we're talking about before, who you help, their problems, your solutions, outcome, right? But here we're adding, unlike the alternative, your competitor, we are different because, and here's the proof we're different, right? So here are some examples, right? So restaurant, we help busy families enjoy a great meal fast with fresh made comfort food and easy online ordering, backed by thousands of local reviews. Hopefully they're all good reviews, right? Professional service, we help businesses stay compliant and reduce risk with clear, proactive guidance so they're not scrambling at the last minute. Retail, e-commerce, we help gift givers find meaningful products quickly with curated collections, fast shipping, so gift giving feels easy again. That would help that mom, right? Make it easy, quick, everything's curated for you, right? So what can you do to sell yourself to the customer against your competitor, right? Oh, there we go. And so customer journey, right? So generally 3 stages. They don't buy instantly. Even like, I see those cute pair of shoes on Facebook. Oh, they might be pretty instantly. I'm going to go look at the shoes. I might go look for coupons first for the brand, but I'm gonna look, make sure my size. And I come and look at the pictures, look how they look on the model. And so there might be a little less I have to consider. It's gonna be a fast move through the buyer's journey, right? So when you think of a buyer's journey or the buyer circle, like you gain them and you retain them, right? So I buy these pair of shoes, let's say I like Aerosols brand, and then they continue to market me. They send me emails. Here are the latest styles. I show up now. I'm in their feed, right? I'm in their algorithm, social media algorithms. They are spending advertising. I'm sure it's not organic. It's probably all paid ads. So I see them frequently. Right now, I need the different color of those pair of shoes that I like, right? So I'm constantly in their loop of gain and retain, gain and retain. Keep buying those shoes, right? So first is the awareness stage. I don't have a problem. I have a shoe buying problem. No, I'm not that bad. I don't have a problem, but some of us may. I'm sorry, I have a problem. I need to go figure out what my options are. Okay. And then who am I going to trust to help me? So say my problem is we need to have the bathroom toilet fixed. So I have a problem. I need to go find a plumber. I don't have one. So I might go to Google and that's an easy one, right? I have an immediate need, immediate intent, and I need to go find that plumber. And then I have to like make that decision. I'm like, I'm going to go look for some social proof. I'm going to look for some reviews, all over the place to make sure it's a legit plumber. I might price shop, but generally see if there's other ones in the area that would do the same thing, but I would probably go by reviews. If the cheapest one is the one that gets the worst reviews, I'm probably not going to use them. I don't want a bad job done, right? So your marketing plan should support all 3 of these stages. And how do you meet them in these stages? The plumber is kind of easy, right? They just can go on Google SEO, Google Ads, right? They don't necessarily have to build brand awareness. So if I talk to anybody who has a service that's kind of an immediate intent, and I don't look for that service until I need it. I needed a tree chopped down recently. I don't usually go and look for arborists, right? I was looking for a tree trimming service, and I said, well, arborist near me, and I found one near me, right? Happened to be local to my neck of the woods here in Los Angeles, and immediately, like as soon as I left a message, and it called me back within seconds, it seemed like, and was Johnny on the spot with getting to me on that Saturday, like a few days later, to come check out my tree destroying needs. I had to tear down a tree that was going into a fence. And then brought those workers in, did the job very efficiently. I didn't have to think about and worry about anything. He went above and beyond. His team went above and beyond and got the job done. And I wrote him a glowing review, right? He closed that entire buying circle for me. He encouraged, like, here's my link to my Yelp or Google. I forgot which one. Maybe I did both. But he's like, please do write a review so that it builds his credibility, right? There's a lot of other arborists, tree trimming services, landscapers out there that could have done the job, but he answered the call on all those, right? literally and figuratively, right? So in the buyer stage, how do you reach out to them, right? So in the awareness stage, you're going to educate, name the problem, teach the basics, perhaps. Some of these services I mentioned, right, are pretty easy. It's an immediate need. I need a tree trimmed, a toilet fix. Well, let's just say the IT person, right? So what is that? What's the problem you're trying to solve? What's going on with your customers that they potentially need you? Teach them the basics, why it's important, give them some tips and insight, how to keep yourself safe, in case of your system is hacked. Give them those tips, but drive them to that problem to hire you. Like, oh, I can't solve this on my own. I might, somebody might break into our system and break, like my IT guy I work with dentists. It's like they had HIPAA rules to keep their patients' records private. If somebody hacked into their systems, that would be a problem. Or their computers were too slow. They couldn't help their customers make appointments or pull up their medical records. So again, immediate need thing, but two, maybe it's like, hey, let me audit your system. Oh, it looks like you have X, Y, and Z going on. That's why your system is slow. And we can help you because I'm sure that's slowing you down and helping your patients. Again, saving time, saving money, right? They might be losing money if patients get too impatient, and don't want to wait because you're taking too long to pull up records or set that appointment or give them the referral because your systems are too slow, right? So consideration stage, how do you differentiate yourself from the other competitors? Explain what your approach is, show that proof if you have it, like here are my glowing reviews, right? Address any objections they may have, and then converting them, getting to them to scissor, a clear offer, a clear call to action. Don't put barriers in front of the purchase, right? Make it easy for them. Don't over explain. Don't like, how do I just bottom line, give me the baby, right? Show me the baby, right? So you want to reduce the risk. Maybe you have guarantees, you get a consultation. And again, an easy next step, of course, as well. And then your channel plan, right? The step like, okay, I have my customers, I know who they are, we have a unique selling proposition, I checked out the competitors. Now where are we going to go to find our customers and talk to them, right? And draw them in, put out the bait, right? So you want to choose your channels, and that's the planets of my world of marketing and advertising will be considered channels where your buyers are already paying attention. Of course, we don't need to go hunting for them in places they may not already be. Your capacity to be consistent there, and do they support your goals, right? So it says pick 1 to 2 primary channels and maybe a support channel. So primary, maybe social media is where you're going to get more action for your business. If you're B2B, that would be LinkedIn, right? More so than Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all the others, Snapchat, all the others out there. Email list, right? It says recommended for most businesses, all businesses, pretty much. Maybe the plumber might not have to, it might be more follow-up, follow-up care than necessarily to nurture, because you don't know. I only need you when I have a plumbing issue. And I'm going to just wait until I have a plumbing issue to reach out. Your email's not going to prompt me, unless it's a preventative thing. Let's just say my HVAC system, right? So, which I'm waiting for an HVAC inspector to come here any moment to close a permit out. They're like, hey, contact us for maintenance. You have to clean your filters. You have to check your vents, make sure they're working. Is there, so there could be some upkeep. Maybe that's a monthly maintenance package. My pest control company, they sold me into a monthly maintenance package to come check out, bait stations and whatever else we had here, checking for termite possibility, all of that, so they're selling, I'm not going to see them all the time for big things, but now I'm in a maintenance package with them and they come here every month and, do their maintenance package stuff. Right. So definitely important. Email marketing is the highest ROI of any marketing tool out there. Double of social media. Double. So to give you an example, this is in my social media class. So for every $1 spent on email marketing, there's an average of a $40 return on investment. Social media is about 18 to $20, whether organic or social or paid. Uh, Text marketing about $11 average, internet banner ads about $2. So nothing even comes close to email marketing. So definitely encourage you watch my email marketing class. It's somewhere on the pay schedule in the calendar. I forgot which month it's going to be. I have a recording on my YouTube channel as well. Optional could be not, again, SEO might not be appropriate for everybody. Blogging, building partnerships, affiliates, doing events. So think about what you really is where your customers are, what works for your time that you can be consistent with, and does it support your goal, right? And understanding, especially with social media, where your audience hangs out. Your audience might not be on TikTok. You might have an older audience and maybe Facebook is more appropriate. Or again, if you're business to business, LinkedIn is going to be more appropriate for you. Shouldn't be spending time hanging out on Instagram as much if you are B2B. So definitely very important. And then building content, right? Content marketing is all about content, educating your customers, marketing, advertising to them, right? So I'm going to show you this. Now there is no template for this content journey mapping. So it's just kind of a visual to show you. I somebody had shared this example, how they turned one blog post into 33 pieces of content, right? So we tend to think about our content as silos, right? I have this blog post I got to put out. I have this email over here. I got to get some YouTube videos, and oh, I got to put some stuff on my Facebook and Instagram. Right now, not everybody's going to have the same journey. I'm not saying everybody you have to do all of these platforms here. Figure out what platforms you should be on based on this marketing plan. I've been talking about where your customers are, what your budget and all that is. But this is using blog, email, social media here. So say we took this one blog post, maybe I put the top 10, I had this blog article, top 10 marketing mistakes that small business owners make. So I can do one blog post, I put it up on my website. It then goes to my LinkedIn as a newsletter. I email it out to my list. I then create social media posts for my other platforms that will then link to my blog on my website. I can maybe take those top 10 marketing mistakes and make it into 10, 1 minute videos explaining each mistake. I'll have like part 10 series on the mistakes and hopefully come back for part two. I hate those too, like part two and part three, but come back for step one, step two on there. So, or I break it down to maybe three videos, maybe three mistakes on each one, or 3.5 on them, right? And then I go and create social media posts for each one of those as well. So don't think about your your content as silos. Think about it how you can recycle and reuse it and sync it to all of your other places, right? Not everybody might be following your blog, might not be getting your emails, following you on TikTok or wherever else you are marketing out to. You want to hit them on all places possible, right? And as far as building content, and this really kind of applies primarily to social media, but you can use these also for email marketing as well, because you want to think about the type of content that you need to get out there, right? So these 4 buckets, it's 2 different things. These buckets, the content types and content pillars. Okay, so we're talking about the content types, these 4 boxes here. So our content generally is going to fall into 4 categories, right? Educational, that can be anything, right? How do you educate your customers? How-to guides, FAQs, tutorials, industry insights, inspirational content, so success stories and testimonials, motivational quotes, behind the scenes content. Promotional, we're probably all good at that. Like, here's my product, here's my service, buy, right? We can't be all that. All right, you have these other 3 buckets here. Interactive content could be quizzes, polls, contests, user-generated content, Q&A sessions. That'd be more social media, perhaps. Now, pillars is something different, right? We have these 4 types, and then we want to build pillars or themes. So exactly what it says here, I can't say it any better, content pillars are the key topics or themes that your brand's content will revolve around. They provide structure to your content strategy and ensure consistency in your messaging. So you cover all these different buckets here and cover all the different things that you need to market to get people to buy from you, right? To convert. I'm going to show you some examples in a minute. And here's kind of the rule of how much of the content we're talking about posts and email the same. We're going to do some promotional, we're going to do some educational, informational, we're going to do a mix. You can do the email and mix it up. Have a little promotional and then also educational. This is kind of the mix you want to keep it out. Oh, in advance. There we go. So here's some examples, and you can use AI to help you create these if you can't think of your own pillars, right? So these are through ChatGPT. A couple of clients of mine. We just went through, and if you have the paid and use Claude, Google, whatever tool you want to use on the paid version of ChatGPT, it will go out to your website. You can type in a URL and you can say, here's my website, and hopefully you have a lot of content on there to explain what you do. But go there, say, hey, based on my website content, what I do, I need content pillars, and it will spit out probably generally about 8 to 10 of them. And I would say pick the top 4. Let's say you're going to post 4 times a week consistently. Very important. The more you're out there, the more you're out there. right? So let's just pick four because we have four buckets, right, out there. So let's just say for this client, his strongest top four pillars might be leadership development, employee retention, um, industry insights and trends, and company updates. And maybe the company updates include, like, of course, pricing, right, on their promotion, selling his services. And the other pillars, like, he might not have testimonials and success stories every week, but maybe as he gets them, he can sprinkle those in there, And so at least pick the four strongest ones that every single week you can post content about it. And then the other ones, bring them in. If you want to post 5 or 6 times a week, you have other pillars here to work with consistently. Here's some other examples. So, a travel agency here. So, plenty of opportunities, plenty of themes or pillars to do, covering those four buckets, right? So, maybe destination spotlights, travel tips and advice, travel deals and promotion. That's their selling, money, 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 and local culture and tradition. So, those are the top four. And then, as we have travel news or behind the scenes or testimonials, we'll sprinkle those in. But this is just a reminder as you're building your content calendar of making sure you're covering all the bases. You don't forget. And this next example is kind of nonprofit. I talked to a nonprofit, and I was talking about her social media, and she says, "Yeah, we're not really consistently getting out there and reminding people to donate. They just forget to do, they're showing, oh, look at this great fundraiser we did, or these are impact stories, or we're helping the kids or the neighborhood or whatever it was. But we're forgetting, like, oh yeah, we do need money. That's one of the main content types and pillars, right? Got a promotional. Here's my product. Here's my service. Here's my fundraiser, right? We need money. So with a nonprofit, whatever, I don't know if we have any nonprofits in the room, but you're probably generally going to have the same core pillars, right? So your impact stories, who you help or what you help, your maybe volunteer and donor spotlights. You want to keep them in the loop. Events and fundraisers, again, money, money, money. And then maybe community engagement. And then the other ones you're going to add in maybe some advocacy or educational content, right? Or behind the scenes or whatever. So very important to be consistent is to have those consistent pillars, right? So hopefully that makes sense with pillars and content types. So think about that. Have, like I said, have AI spit those out for you, and or think of them yourself, and be consistent with those, right? So, overwhelmed with how to get it all done, right? I heard a little overwhelmed before the first slide. I said, why is marketing so hard and overwhelming? Right? So, having a process in place to get it done, right? Whether you're going to do it yourself, you're going to hire somebody to sit there and do marketing, or hire an outside person like me, right? You still have to have a process in place and build that. And you understand as a business owner what you need to do. Do you need to do your own marketing? I mean, you might have to, budget wise, I understand. You have to wear that hat. But always think about that time when you're going to be handing that marketing over, right? The goal of the business owner should be growing your business and not being the hat wearer of everything, right? How are you going to scale? Like that example was with the skincare, that the owner did everything. So they couldn't really scale because she was the face of the business, right? So you should have a process, have what I call a playbook for your marketing. So if people come and go, there's no delay in your marketing, right? If you're not having, you have to take it over, you know exactly what's going on. So I always encourage businesses to at least learn it, but work with it with the idea of handing it over. If you're like, hey, I don't know, I don't have time, maybe I'll learn it. Just give me a process, get it done for me, and then learn it. It's like you should at least have that in place with who you're hiring, like internally or externally, right? So having a process. So what does that look like? So if it's going to be you to do all the steps, I'd say block the time in your calendar, honor it as, a meeting with a client. You have to plan, right? Beginning of the month. So just to fall back for a second, right? For me and my clients that I do the work for, I'm always working a month ahead at minimum, whatever we can work a little ahead, but each month, right? I have to give my clients deliverables for the done for you services. So first of the month, which is coming up in a second here. Right now, we're finished with March, and we're scheduling out their March content using scheduling tools. So we're on that part 3 of this process, but now we're about to hit the part 1 again, right? The scheduling and calendaring, right? So looking at the April calendar, because like I said, we have the March content wrapped up. It's just getting scheduled out for the month. So first couple days of the month, you might need a couple hours, give or take a little time. to fill out your content calendar, figure out what are your themes and pillars and what do you need to cover, what events you have coming up, you have blog content, emails, promotions, you got to get all that figured out. So that might block a couple hours each beginning of each month. And the biggest part's going to be the creation. If you're doing all that yourself, creating all the social media posts and the videos and the captions and emails and blogs and all that, that could be, you have to figure out your time. Maybe it's an hour a day every day of the week or 5 days a week. So 5 hours of your time each week. Could be less or more, right? Figure that out and block it. Then you have scheduling, right? At the end of the month, once you've created everything, maybe if you have somebody creating it for you, like say I have all of my clients prove their content. So if between the 1st and the 15th, after we've planned out the calendar, right, figured out everything we have to do, creating all the content, laying it out on the content calendar for them to look at it, approve it, or say, oh, can you change this up? We have to go back and do it, edit it, and then go back for their approval. So by the 15th, 20th of the month, all their content's ready for review. And then this gives us time to, change some things up, re-review it. And then by the end of the month, like today and tomorrow, everything will get scheduled using scheduling tools. And then we're on to April, right? Again, we have to plan that in our calendar, right? Our appointment calendar, that time to go. I need to block that time. So I'm scheduling all that content out. Right. So you do the same thing, however that works. You do it. If you have staff helping you, make sure they're following a schedule. If you want to approve everything, I think as an owner, you should, right? At least look at it and make sure what's being represented for your company is, and they're covering all bases. I've seen so many times that I'm talking to business owners and I'm looking at their social media. One of them said, oh, yeah, I have a gal. She's posting on LinkedIn all the time. I'm like, honey, there's nothing here since 2024. Like, where are the posts? Is it like invisible ink? And she was like dumbfounded. She's like, oh, I don't know. Let me talk to her. She hadn't even looked. I know she looked at content, but did no one look to see like this gal is not even posting her content. So you make sure you look and make sure it's posted up and everything's working smoothly, right? I mean, I can understand one blip of a post not going out, but she was assuming she had days and weeks and weeks and months of posts, and like I said, literally it was like a year ago. So something I don't haven't heard back from her about that, but I think her next call after we hung up was going to be her marketing gal. Right. So again, figure out that process that will help smooth out some of the overwhelm. It might not totally take it all away, right? Please smooth some of it out for you. And then having that plan in place, right? What is that weekly cadence going to look like? Right. So definitely a sustainable plan is better than an ambitious plan, right? Don't go from like, well, I'm only posting once a month when we remember, or when my marketing person remembers to post it, to like, I got to post 5 times a week, right? Don't kill yourself trying to get up to that number, but just keep in mind, people aren't going to be able to interact with you and see you and convert if you don't put anything out there. It kills me when businesses are like, oh, my business has really dropped and they haven't posted since circa 2000 and late. I'm like, what's going on with your marketing? Let's help people come to see you, right? So don't come back to me until you start posting again and emailing all that, and then it's not working, right? So this is an example of weekly rhythm you can do, going off your content pillars, like an awareness post, a consideration, decision, an email, of course. So again, using a content calendar to sync all that, figuring that out. Definitely consistency beats intensity. I'll give you a quick example. And the calendar, my 2026, if you're not familiar with the content calendar, it's a Google Sheets document. You can go to goldenstatemarketing.net/calendar. On the welcome tab, there is a little 30-minute Zoom video to show you how to use all the tabs you have. You can sync your social media, your email, your blogging, and now text marketing is on there as of 2026. And when you sign up for it, you'll continue to get the next years. If you like it, great. If you don't, use something, right? But I'll give you an example of consistency versus intensity, right? Or I say being prolific. So last year I was starting the process in January of like, I'm going to build content for the entire year. So the only thing I'd done so far in the beginning of the year was I had created a marketing tip, my Tuesday tip post, and I put it up on my social media. And I had already scheduled them out for the entire year. But in March, I had a total change of plans. My father had a stroke. My mother started having health issues. So the whole year was just medical for my parents, right? My mom passed away in September, so I didn't get to do any other content, but I had that one post go out because I already had scheduled out in January. So by the time things changed in March, I didn't post a few other things, but generally I didn't post any other consistent content. So that one post was going out. If anybody follows my LinkedIn, they've seen it. And I had a colleague of mine, had lunch with her. She has a social media company as well. And she says, I see you on LinkedIn all the time. And I'm like, no, I'm there like at least that once per week. And I said, well, I'm not prolific, but I'm consistent, right? At least last year. So this year, I'm like, okay, I'm getting ahead of the game. I'm like, everything's fine. Dad's good, right? We're steady, not hanging out at the hospital every other day like last year. But I'm going to get content done. So now I have my pillars, right? I have my 4 pillars. I have my Marketing Monday tip and my Tuesday blog. I do a weekly blog. I have my Wednesday webinars promotion, and I have my Thursday questions I put up. I have it all scheduled out for the entire year already. I'm ahead of the game, right? I'm prepared. So already, right? I'm more prolific and I'm consistent. And I'm already seeing that ROI on that because I had somebody like almost immediately, I think earlier this month, reach out and say, oh, I've seen your LinkedIn content. I want to talk about marketing. Right. So I know, I believe, because I know her, she's one of the ladies in this social group from the other 2 ladies. I show them the pictures and hadn't talked to her for 5 or 6 years, because I moved away from the Central Coast. But she's seen my, no, I'd seen her interact with my content. I'd seen her like it. I know her name. And she reached out to potentially do marketing for her because she said she saw my LinkedIn content. So again, that consistency and being prolific or intense definitely paid off, right? So last year was this, okay, it was out there, I was posting, to see as much action with it. Sorry about that clunk. My phone just dropped. So very important. And the content, we'll make sure that that link to the content calendar is on the with the recording and slides if you missed that. So measuring and optimizing, right? You have to look under the hood. And if you don't measure, you'll repeat mistakes. We don't want to do that. So the 3 things that you can track consistently, or you should be tracking consistently, is attention, right? Traffic and reach, right? Engagement. Are people doing anything? Are they clicking, replying, interacting, reposting, etc.? And then looking at your conversion. Are you getting leads, booking, sales, downloads of your whatever that conversion is for you, right? You have to correlate that. Might be hard to track conversion based on like, I put out this email and we got a bunch of orders coming in, or hey, our phone started ringing, or like my restaurant client, I do social media posting and emailing the days that they're open. And I don't know what the conversion is unless if they order online, I can track. Okay, they placed an order online, they got the email. But if they walk into the restaurant, they don't ask, where'd you hear about? Why'd you come in today? Oh, I just got your email. They don't bother. They're too busy for that. But if there's an increase in traffic, I mean, I can, they don't share POS information, but I can ask what their sales were and see if that makes a difference, or it's just bringing in consistent business. Somebody who might have gotten the email thought, with food, I always say we have to keep their appetite wet, right? If we see food, we're going to want to eat it, right? Not like, oh, I see those great tacos. Yeah, maybe next Friday I'll come get them. Usually it's if you can get me to go, oh, I'm coming today. I see those tacos on Facebook stories. I have clients that have tacos. I keep wanting, I'm lucky I'm far away from them. I'd be there every day. But right, we have to be out there more, be out there more for people to see us and want to see those tacos so they go into the restaurant on every day that they're open, right? So definitely optimize one variable at a time: your message, your offer, your channel, your audience. Look at what's working. Look at, do you need to change anything with what you're saying or doing or advertising? So very important, look under the hood. And there's a lot of places to look under, right? You need to look at your website analytics, and that might be Google Analytics directly. If you have Shopify or Wix or whatever, might have different analytics set up for your website. Look at those numbers. Look at your social media analytics, your email, right? Look under all those hood. If you don't know how to look under it, hire somebody who knows how to look under it, like a metrics nerd like me. I like looking at numbers and correlating them, figuring out like, okay, you got great open rates on your email. Why is it not converting? What's happening? Do we need to look at make sure you have the correct UTM tracking links on Google? I'm dealing with that now with a client. They have great open and click rates, but their conversions are not happening. So we're tweaking messaging, we're tweaking, making sure that tracking, we can correlate phone calls coming into the actual emails going out, right? So looking under the hood and making sure you understand those numbers so that you can adjust based on that, hopefully. So before you spend any more time and money on marketing, ask yourself, do you know who your best fit customers are? Most important. Do you know what problem they're trying to solve right now? Okay. Can you explain what makes you different in one sentence, your unique selling proposition? Is your message clear or is it about you instead of about them? They're the hero, right? You're the guy, they're the hero of the story. You shouldn't be the hero. Are you showing up consistently where your buyers actually pay attention? Do you know what you're tracking to measure success, right? If you answered no to any of these, your marketing plan definitely is the next step, right? Definitely have to figure that out. You can tap into my expertise and schedule a clarity session with me. Get 30 minutes to pick whatever's left of my marketing brain here. Should be some still left there. Or go to callwithpatty.com. Happy to answer any questions that you have about your marketing plan or any of your marketing to make you more successful and get some more business, right? So I don't think, do we have any questions come in? Did I see any? Oh, okay.
Yes, actually.
I didn't have the Q&A pulled up. So I see one in Q&A. I have a longer business name, Mission Control Productions. Once we have established a dialogue with clients, oops, it disappeared. I missed it.
Oh,
I think it said something like it sounded like you were kind of doing a Kentucky Fried Chicken thing. I forgot, I didn't see the name of who that was, but you said you were going to abbreviate it. So I don't know if
I'll read it for you.
oh, perfect. Thank you. Oh, yeah,
Uh-huh.
somebody answered. Yes, I saw it.
Yes, I have a longer business name, Mission Control Productions. Once we have established a dialogue with clients, we end up using the acronym MCP. Should I have a sub logo?
Oh, interesting question. So going back to kind of the KFC thing, right? They are a well-established brand, Kentucky Fried Chicken, and now they go by KFC. I don't know why, that what the story behind that, but it was, successful for the most part. They took out the main like fried chicken, what they do, their main product. Interesting. I mean, when you talk to your current customers about it, saying your MCP is okay, but does it make sense? Mission Control Productions make more sense to like out there and for potential new clients. I'm not clear if you're just when you establish a dialogue with the clients, we end up using that, right? So I like Golden State Marketing. I don't say, oh, I'm GSM, right? So that's up to you. You could, maybe have an MCP if that works, but I wouldn't have it as your main. I wouldn't do the Kentucky Fried Chicken thing and just now be called MCP because then you're going to have to explain what does that mean. There's one out there, I'm trying to think of what it was. It's like WWE or WWF, where there are other businesses that have similar ones, and you're like, which one are you? You have to be careful about that. I don't think any other business would use KFC to compete against that, but whether they do chicken or something else. But yeah, you could potentially do that. I would just be careful with shortening it if they don't know who you are, right? And any other
Yeah,
questions?
I see another question, Patty. What do you recommend if you have not had a social media presence in a few years? Should I re-enter?
Yes, making sure you're in the right places, right? First, making sure whatever you abandon, you can go back and start posting. You don't necessarily have to go back and let me delete everything because that was like 2021 or whatever. Just consistently post. Nobody is really very say, I don't say nobody are going to your say Instagram profile page, your main page, and going back and looking at all your social media and like, oh, look at that one from 5 years ago. They're just whatever they're discovering in their feed, right? I'm just looking through my Facebook feed and looking at Instagram reels on Facebook or whatever. I'm not concerned about what you posted 5 years ago. Unless I hadn't, what I do for you, if I'm talking to you, I will go to your home feed and I'll look at when you last posted and what you posted previously, but just start posting, get out there and like I said, don't kill yourself. Don't start like I got to do 5 posts a week. Start working your way up. Get that content out there so you're getting in the algorithm consistently. But just as Nike says, just do it. Right? That's the best way to do it. Let's see. Any other question? Oh, there's one here. Okay, so I have a WordPress blog with a website on it, and it's a lot of work. Yes. Would moving my domain name to a Substack account work? It's free and has a paid subscriber option. Mostly I'm thinking about this because I'm trying to deal with spam on a personal blog is such a pain, By comparison, Substack looks easy because the company will handle spammers for everyone. Yeah, I have a client that has a blog and she's been starting to use Substack, so I'm not as familiar with it on the marketing side use of it myself to speak differently. I would say you would still want to have it on your website, right? Your website is still your home base, right? Your front door, your um where you go, where people go for reputation. Your SEO is built on what's in your site. So I would say, I mean, if you're talking, Sarah, I think the decision was more about being about spam coming on there. Was that the main? Yeah, it's trying to deal with spam on a personal blog is such a pain. So people who are commenting perhaps on them, I use Kajabi and I publish my blog there first, of course on my website. I don't see that. I don't know if it's because I don't have comments on it. But it's really, you don't want to avoid your website because you're worried about spammers. You want to think of it as, if you talk to my colleague Brandon, who does SEO, I think he also teaches for PACE on SEO topics. You want to have blog content on your site because that helps build SEO. And then also Substack, not saying avoid, not do Substack, but also Substack, anything you post on other places are also going to start showing up on SEO as well. So that's important for your business, but I wouldn't avoid your website and not post there because of spam issues. Is there a way you can figure out the spam, stopping that or not? Maybe what is that called? Like the CAPTCHA thing, I think maybe. I don't know if that would help or not. But yeah, I would say with blogs, my website first. I go to LinkedIn. I'm B2B, so I go to LinkedIn and I create a newsletter, which is a blog or an article, same thing. And then I post it up on social media and I email it out. I hit everywhere, right? Okay, you might be on all of my things, subscribe everywhere, but I'm like, you might not see my newsletter. You might not go to Substack, but you might go to my website, or you read it on my email, right? Or at least part of it that then goes to the website. So definitely, I would still say the website's very important. So figure out, is that spam issue really a problem where it's really hurting your business, or is it just you being annoyed by it, right? So hopefully that answers the question, Betty. If you want to talk further, just schedule a 30-minute session with me. Happy to look at that directly. So when Bernice says I'm saying SEO, sound it might be coming out as SCO, search engine optimization. So when you go to Google organically and put in a search term or a question, that's the search engine results page, right? And now, as I said, there's also GEO, generative engine optimization. That's the AI answers you get at the top, which are also part of building your optimization plan because they pull from all of the things, and keywords are not the most important thing. And I'm going to steal a little Brandon's juice there because that's his expertise, but it's about building backlinks, building domain authority. So building that is like building your reputation on search engines. Is would other people link to you? Like, would I want to link to your site? That hurts my reputation if it's something shady, right? So the more backlinks you have are more important, and the content you have out there that speaks to your audience, and content includes blogs. So very important to have all of those. So that's SEO. Good question. You're welcome. Anything else? Oh, here one. What do you recommend if you have oh, okay, I think you already answered that question. I already answered that. I think that's it. I don't see any other questions.
Any other questions? This is your chance.
Yeah, and the calendar, you'll get the it's just I'll just type it in the chat, but you'll get it with the slides and recording, but I'm gonna try typing this in as quickly as possible. So it's just goldenstatemarketing.net/calendar. It is the 2026. And when you fill out your name and email, if you stay on my list every October, the next calendar comes out. So it'll be updated in October for 2027. So, and I think that's it.
Okay, thank you for a great webinar, Patty. We
You're
enjoyed it so
welcome.
much. It was wonderful. Everyone, please join us for our next webinar. It's happening on Thursday, March 26th, same time, 11 a.m. And we'll be covering defining your audience, the power of buyer persona.
Yeah.
Make sure you join us.
Thank
All
you.
right, I guess that's it for today. Thank you so much. Hope to see everyone next time. Have a great rest of the day.
You too. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.